$200, a Super Nintendo setup costs twice as much as the old system. For the money, the company promises better pictures, sound, and adventure. Now you're playing with power, superpower. You're the king, I tell you! The king!
Only for Super NES.
Only on Super NES.
You're listening to the SNES broadcast with your host, Soulblazer.
Hello everybody, this is Super NES Podcast, episode number 181. I'm Greg, joined always by my faithful co-host Joe.
Hi, I'm Joe.
And we are doing a follow-up to a game previously covered on this podcast, as we usually want to do. It was more Joe's idea than mine, but we both thought it was like a pretty good idea to actually do this. So a while back we covered one of the more really, I want to say, more forgotten about RPGs in the Super NES, just because the Super NES had so many great RPGs for it. Like a while back we covered Lufia and the Fortress of Doom, and so we decided this time to cover the follow-up, Lufia 2: Rise of the Sinistrals, which in Japan is known as Espito Denki 2, which translates to Biography of Vestropolis 2. So anyway, this is not a sequel per se, but actually a prequel, because the events of this game take place before the first game. For anybody who remembers playing the Lufia 1 or has listened to our podcast, Lufia 1 opens up with a boss fight with a bunch of characters, and those characters are your main characters, like in Lufia 2, with that boss fight being the final boss fight, like in this game. So this is the only game to do the prequel thing as the follow-up. I know there are other games. I'm just drawing a blank. So I'm just drawing a blank right now. It's one of the games do that, but
Yeah, I couldn't think of any myself.
Wastelands, I think, does that too with one of the games in the series.
Okay.
I'm sorry, not Wasteland. What's that? There's that.
Borderlands.
Borderlands. Yes, thank you. That's what I was thinking about.
Yeah, because they actually literally have it's called the pre-sequel. Yeah.
Right. And I think that I've not played the game, but I believe if I remember correctly, that BioShock Infinite also was a prequel, like the first two games. But I need to play that one of these days. I played the first two games, never got around to playing that one. So my game backlog.
That's a game.
My game backlog list is so bad.
I was gonna say I bought Infinite back on the PS3, including the DLC, and I think I've maybe played 10 minutes of that game. It's sad. It's money wasted.
Well, I mean, if you buy it on sale, it's not that
Well,
bad.
that's why I now own it for the PC as well, because I bought it on sale. But it's still sad. Like I bought, a game with DLC, good, probably, $80 at the time, and didn't even touch it really,
Well, I've done it too. Final Fantasy 15, I play them the same way.
That's understandable.
I'll get around to that one of these days. But anyway, speaking about RPGs, we're talking about this RPG. So a lot of information for this game is the same as the first game, so we'll kind of gloss over those points real quick and try to focus on the differences that this game has, because there are plenty of differences. Because at first look, this game does look very similar to the first game, but there are some significant differences. Let me just finish up with the setup. This game came out in Japan in February of 1995. It took a while for it to come out here in the States. It did not get a U.S. release until May of '96. Power Markets finally got the game the following year in '97, because Lufia 1 never came out over there. Lufia 2 is just called Lufia, like over there, like most territories. Neverland developed the game as well too, as in the first game, and just like but unlike the first game, Taito only published the game in Japan. So the American rights picked up by Natsume. We mentioned them again. We mentioned them a lot recently, but they published the game in the States, and Nintendo got the rights to publish the game in Power Markets, which is At first it looks a bit unusual, but then you check it out and you realize that Nintendo actually did publish a lot of games overseas for one reason or another, both in the U.S. or in Europe for games they did not make or actually publish in Japan itself. So interesting, but that's what they did. So so I already mentioned. Yes, I already mentioned the overall story for this game. It's a prequel to the first game. And this game does have sequels and follow-ups, which we'll cover here briefly toward the end. But anyway, let's talk about the major differences, the major differences between two games. First thing, right off the bat, dungeons no longer have random encounters. So that's a huge thing, and more kind of a nod toward the modern RPG system. As a result, the encounter rate of this game is much reduced. Whenever a game has random encounters whenever a game no longer has random encounters, but instead of encounters that you can actually see and choose to fight, that of course by design brings down the encounter rate way down. So it's up to you in that point is how much fighting that you want to do. There are also puzzles introduced in this game. Yay! So because some of them are really, really bad. And really difficult.
I thought that was an interesting change. I even marked that down in my notes. I'm okay with this. This literally felt like an RPG in a traditional sense, mixed with the exploration of a Zelda title.
Yeah, that's a good way of describing it. But actually. Actually, I mentioned this right now. There was also a re-release of this game in 2010 that Square Enix did called Lufia Sinistrals for the DS, which goes heavily into action. That being more like an action RPG instead. So, but yeah, we'll talk about that here toward the end. There's also new skills in this game, much bigger and a much more bigger and complete skill tree that you can use. And the combat system also looks a little bit different. I mean, combat does function essentially the same, but the combat screen's a bit different, even though the game uses a similar engine. So, I don't think it's the same engine. The graphics do look different enough to make me think that they didn't really quite use the same engine again. But it does look. Actually, this game. Actually, I know that you played this game a lot too. Also, the characters and sprites in this game actually kind of remind me actually kind of remind me more about a Lunar game than the first Lufia game because of the way they look and everything.
Yeah. After playing this, I feel like Lunar borrowed heavily from this game.
I don't know when Lunar. I do not know when Lunar came out. Let me just look that up real quick because it came obviously first with Sega CD.
Right.
But let's see. Lunar Silver Star Story was 1992, so yeah, that game.
Yeah, okay. So maybe this borrowed heavily from that.
Could have, yes, but anyway. Other major differences. There's also the capsule monster system, which is very interesting. You basically have to. It's a little bit hard to describe. Maybe you want to take a shot at it, Joe. But you basically can get items to be able to feed monsters to be able to improve their abilities and stats.
Right, and then you can use them in battle, which is pretty interesting.
Yes. Yeah.
It's good to have to be able to add on to your party, and you kind of got a disposable hero is the best way to look at it.
Sure.
But I mean, overall, I think if there was a third game, like a legit third game, that was maybe set after the first Lufia, that maybe they could have expanded more on that and being able to use the creatures, because I don't know, it's weird that in the prequel you can use creatures in battle, but yet it doesn't really let you do that in Lufia. You know what I mean? Yeah. So at least it would have been nice.
Well, obviously, yeah. Obviously, Lufia came out first.
Right.
But there is a Jet Lufia 3, but it just they decided not to. But yeah, but that game also went more toward the action RPG bent. So, but anyway, yeah. So, There's also other differences. There's also more ways to get around in this game. There's a warping spell, which is great. A boat modified into a submarine, which you have to like actually see to believe, and also a blimp. So give him credit. Like it's not an airship; it's a blimp.
Right.
So I can't think of. So I can't think of. And I actually can't think of any other games right now that have like blimps for most. Actually, I'm sorry. Dragon Quest IV has a blimp, but so not totally unique, but blimps are more uncommon.
Absolutely.
Games. So there's casino mini games in the game. Again, speaking of like Dragon Quest games, that you can play to get some money like one if you want to. So there's also the characters. The main character Maxim in this game also has access to a wide variety of tools he can use, which can only be used in dungeons. Think like Legend of Zelda. There's like there's like hook shot to get you across the pit, a bow and arrow to be able to hit enemies in the distance, that kind of stuff. So so again, cool ideas. And again, I'm seeing like Dragon Quest again, a lot of influence there, like in this game.
It was, I mean, that's part of the whole puzzle aspect where, they give you these things.
Yeah.
So, you got like the bombs. There's quite a few areas where like you have to bomb areas to like clear tiles and make the tiles match and things like that. And you have the hammer to get through things. And then later on you get fire arrows, which, arrows you use already to hit switches to unlock things. But the fire arrows will clear brush. So it helps you get, to areas that were inaccessible. So, yeah, they did a good job implementing some of those extra elements, and then others you just kind of look at them and just kind of be like, okay, so like you just kind of needed to fill space.
Right. So I mentioned skills earlier. Skills in the game take the form of what's called IP skills, which are attached to your weapons, armor, and accessories. It kind of works a bit like Limit Break from Final Fantasy, in the sense that, like, you take damage, it fills up, and once you, once it's filled, that skill, that skill is automatically used. Different skills take more time or damage to use than others. You can freely customize your armor, your weapons and armor for different skill effects. So, for example, you can keep one on hand if you know, okay, this is going to be very useful in this dungeon. I'll swap this piece of armor, etc. However, they cannot be changed or customized. Meaning sometimes in the game you're forced to pick between a new stronger piece of gear or an older one that has a very useful skill to it. Your inventory in this game is limited, so you can only carry around so much stuff. So it's a hard choice to make. Capsule monsters we already talked about a little bit. There's 7 of them all together. There's finally also the Ancient Cave, which is a randomly generated dungeon going all the way up to 99 floors. It's a side quest, optional side quest to you, like in the game. Because it's randomly generated, it gives the dungeon a very roguelike feel.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool. Within the cave, you basically have no experience points, and points that you have almost all, and you've almost none of your equipment or items. So it's very difficult. However, you can find some very cool stuff as you go through the cave. And there's 3 ways of exiting the cave, by dying, obviously, reaching the bottom of the cave, or by finding an item in the game, which is called Providence, which allows you to be able to warp out. So there's blue and red chests in the cave. Red chests contain items that can only be used inside that cave, and whereas blue chests are items that you can use like outside the cave. So it's up to you as to how much time you want to spend in the ancient cave. I do recommend trying at least at least a few times.
Yeah.
It is a fun way to break up the main quest. And if you're lucky enough to get some of the items like the blue chest, there's a very nice gear here. So. But trying to get through all 99 floors is a real challenge.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, Sorry.
No, I was gonna say. I mean, there's. I mean, I'm sure you're going to talk about it in secrets, but I mean, if you use the level 0 glitch, you could probably get through those 99 levels pretty quick.
Yes, this game's been glitched. Yes, this game has been glitched and speed run to attack, which we're going to talk about here later on.
51 seconds, I saw. 51 seconds.
Yep.
It's an RPG that blows my mind.
Yeah, we will talk about that later on here. But yeah, definitely. So to mention it like real quick, a legitimate speed run in this game, i.e., not actually breaking into the game in any way. It's about like 3.5 hours. So an actual play through this game is about most of the ones I saw online. Most of the ones I saw online like about 20 hours. So, I mean, so it's not a super long RPG. There definitely were other longer RPGs on the system for sure. But probably about maybe like Chrono Trigger length. Maybe depending upon how thorough you want to be with Chrono Trigger. Chrono Trigger may it may take you longer, but decent length of the game for sure. So, anyway, those are the differences in this game, and as you probably figured out, there actually are a lot of differences. Compared to games which like true sequels. There's actually not a ton in common in this game compared to like the first game to be sure. But I mean, the overall feel of the game's the same. The graphics are similar, upgraded some. I think. The map's different. The music of course is different, but the music of course in the game is different. There's actually more not in common than in common with this game, the first game, and as a result, you really don't need to play Lufia 1 to be able to enjoy Lufia 2.
Agreed.
So, as long as you realize, this is the prequel to the first game, you're basically good to go. So, anyway,
So I think if a lot of people like Lufia 1 kind of flew under the radar, and then this one was marketed pretty good. So this is really I saw a lot of things online where this was a lot of people's first impression of the series, and then they moved on to the first game, afterwards. And I wish I could have had that experience, because one of the things that kind of disappointed me with this playthrough is that, one, I haven't played this before. Two, I already know the end game. I know what's going to happen. So it's like you're playing through a story. Yes, there's some twists and turns and some surprises, whatever. I mean, there's obviously stuff there. But it's still how the game is going to end. You know everything that's going to happen after the credits roll. That it almost, it makes the playthrough feel, I don't know, not worth it sometimes. You know what I mean?
Well, the story itself is good enough, at least by 90 standards.
Yes.
The story itself is good enough, at least to keep you coming back for more.
But I'm saying in the aspect of if you had already played Lufia first and then played this.
Oh, yes.
Like I said, it seems like from people online that I saw and different forums and whatnot, they played Lufia 2 as their first experience. And thank God for that, you know what I mean? Because these people praise this series. And they should, because this is actually a really good series, and I'm actually kind of sad that we, don't see more of this. But, I don't know. I just felt kind of jaded that I beat the, beat the first one, and, I
mean, this is one of the rare cases. This is one of the rare cases where it's actually okay to play this game first because play this game first because it's a prequel. So I mean, as far as story goes, it's you just go from Lufia 2 to Lufia 1. As long as you don't mind going back to more older, more brutal style gameplay Lufia 1 because the encounter rate. Oh god, the encounter rate. For Lufia will drive you up a wall. But it's kind of Actually, the best analogy I can make about this is like Star Wars. It's like like it's like there are people out there who've never seen Star Wars. And it's like if you were to say you sit down with somebody and like I'm going to show you Star Wars. You have a dilemma, a great dilemma, but sort of dilemma to figure out. Do you show the movies in sequential order? The order in which they were released, or do you show them in chronological order, in terms of I know. It's like Star Wars 1, it's a great question, but it's like, Luffy's kind of like the same way, not to such a great extreme.
Except there's only one answer. You show them the original trilogy, and you leave it at that. You say nothing ever happened beforehand, nothing happened after, and that's all it is.
Yeah, I like all 11 movies.
I mean, I do too, to a certain degree, but as far as, like, if I'm trying to introduce it to somebody, I'm literally going to the classics. I'm saying, look, this is the original Star Wars, this is Empire Strikes Back, this is Return of the Jedi. If you want anything before and after, that's on you. I don't want to be responsible for that.
Yeah, but anyway, but yeah, so yeah. It's like, I think Lufia 2 didn't sell as well here in North America because, based upon, for two reasons I say that. One, NetSB published it, and NetSB was not a very big publisher. And two, based upon it's on eBay, this game's harder to find.
Yeah.
At least just upon based on the existing copies. And also a lot more expensive. I'll get the pricing later on. But yeah, it's like, I can see this game, but yeah, so, but yeah, so I didn't come to the same conclusion that you did, Joe. But I definitely kind of agree with you with that, as far as Lufia 2 being like a more popular game. I mean, it came out later, so it's like more time passed, more people got exposed to the to RPGs. So, but I really should say JRPGs because the Western RPGs definitely were a thing. At this time already, like the Fallout games, like and whatnot. So, but anyway, so, but yeah, so anyway, so it sounds like overall, Joe, that you liked all the changes, and that you thought Lufia 2 was a much better game.
Yeah, and I think part of the reason for that is little side note here. So I've been playing through Dragon Quest, or as we all know, Dragon Warrior. The first one, the first one that they re-released on iOS, and then they ported it to the Switch. So I've been, because I bought 1, 2, and 3, and I'm a big Dragon Quest fan. So I figured I've never actually played through those games, so this is my opportunity. And they did fix the encounter rate compared to the original NES one, but the encounter rate is still super high. I feel like it's every 5 steps I'm guaranteed to hit something.
I don't know. Yeah, so I don't know. So I don't know if they did the same thing with that version of the game as they did with the Super NES port of the game, which we covered in the podcast way back when. The encounter rate wasn't changed for that game. What they did instead was what they did instead for that game was it doubled your XP to fight and gold that you got in fights.
See, I would like that. That would be all right, but. Yeah, they slightly lowered the encounter rate for this version. So when you were talking about the encounter rate here in this game, to me it didn't bother me because I'm used to walking every 5 feet, you know what I mean, in game time, and boom, there I'm fighting something, and it's usually a slime. Let's be fair, it's either a slime or it's a
You have to stock up a lot of the. Yeah, you have to stock up on a lot of the repel items playing that game. But,
it's correlating that to this, I'll admit, I had to crunch on this one because I was working on a little project. You saw my lovely GPI 2 project that I had on Facebook. Thank you. Nice. That was fun. Let me tell you, CM4 board chips are ridiculous, but that's a whole nother thing that goes with supply chains and everything else. The world today. That was, I wanted to play it on the go with me, so this way, when I'm, this is going to sound bad, but when I'm in training and it's going over something really slow, I could pop it on and kind of play, and then on top of that, bring it to the hotel and work there, and play as well. especially with a lot of time free at the hotel. But yeah, I only got about, I don't know, 45 minutes total playtime in on the second one, which was kind of sad, but also like it was enough. And that's what was really sad. And then like it was this week. Yeah, this week is where I really got to buckle down, and I played all week after work and finally got to the end of the game on Saturday night, last night. Some inside baseball.
I actually was not able to finish the game because I've just been busy working with that kind of stuff. But but I did see the ending like online, so I know how. So I mean, to your point, we already knew how it ended, but I wanted to actually see the ending itself. So, but yeah, so I got most of the way through the game, but I really didn't like miss all that much. Yeah, so, yeah, I do like this game a lot. I do think it's. So I personally think it's a bit better than Lufia 1, but like I said before, Lufia 1 and Lufia 2 are so different games. I don't really know if it's fair to compare them all that much, but because like I said, the essential gameplay, the essential the world, the story beats are kind of the same in both games, but pretty much everything else is different. So, this game is more of a good like early action RPG style game, whereas like Lufia 1 is just more of a traditional, really grindy turn-based random encounter game. So, which by the way, I actually only recently learned this. I guess that speaking about RPGs, I thought that turn-based RPGs were kind of like a thing in the past anymore, but I guess that Persona 5 is turn-based, like when I hear.
Oh,
so,
really?
Yeah, I guess I guess they made it work for modern games. So I was surprised to hear that. But I've not played Persona since like I've not played Persona games for like since 2.
Yeah, that actually makes me want to pick up Persona 5.
Yeah. Well, I keep hearing people talking about that game, and I'm still talking about what's it called, like Shin Megami Tensei.
Yeah.
So people keep raving. People keep raving. I keep raving about those two games. I'm just like, my backlog's bad enough.
Right.
But I finished Dragon Quest. Yeah, I finished Dragon Quest 11 last year. That's good enough like right now.
Yeah, I wish I had finished that game. I'm still in that like.
That's a fun game.
It is. It is, and it's cool because it's one of those like I don't feel pressured to keep pushing through the story. Like I take every side quest. I take like every little thing that like a villager says and is like, oh, can you go grab this? I'm like, yes, I'm gonna go stroll through this wonderful world.
Kind of like one of the other scroll games, huh?
Yeah.
But anyway, So Lufia 2 is a different style game. Knowing that going into it, as long as you know that going into the game, you certainly have a lot of fun with it. I think some of the puzzles are. I think some of the puzzles are blatantly unfair, and you're gonna have to look up cheats to find out how to get through them. But the one about what was that one that kind of reminded me like about the checkers? The checker based one.
I know which one you're talking about. Yeah.
That was rough. Having a map on hand is also handy, of course. But side note, if you look at the map carefully enough, the world layout does kind of resemble the world layout does kind of like resemble the title name.
Oh.
So a little like an Easter egg there, but anyway. So it's a very different game. I think sort of. So I think this game is like sort of like playing today. The graphics are a step up from the first game. They're very nice. They're very cute, detailed 16-bit sprites. Definitely have some affection like that style. The music in this game is very good. Like the first game, it's a very good soundtrack. So. Overall difficulty of the game, the game is definitely easier than Lufia 1 as long as you had help for some of the puzzles like whatnot. So, if you missed this game and enjoy games of this style, it's definitely worth checking out. This game never got released during its lifetime, which explains some of the rarity and high prices you see on eBay. But there was a remake of this game, which we'll talk about here like a little bit. But before I move on, Joe, I just wanted to ask if you had any like thoughts, other overall thoughts like about the game or what it is. Like,
no, I think I kind of hit all those points. You know, the music's really good. I enjoyed the visuals, but at the same time, like, you know, I've said on some of the previous games we've played games that are much more beautiful. So, I mean, this is, what, 95?
It was 93 for Japan.
Okay, so 94.
America.
So, again, this...
No, I'm sorry. 95 for Japan, 96
Okay,
for
96.
America.
So, yeah.
This was definitely
So,
like
yeah, I mean, there were much better looking games at this time, you know, that had already come out. But, that being said, this holds up on its own. I would highly recommend the first game, but I would also recommend this game as well. I don't hate it. I think the things that they did, like I said, if you play the first one first, I think it makes this one a little more difficult to enjoy just because you kind of already know the end game and there's not really too many surprises. But at the same time, knowing that if you have the opportunity to play this first, then go play Lufia. Then come talk to me and let me know what you think as far as what's good and what's not. Because I think that you're going to enjoy this game over the original game. But I also think that having the complete story told in the order that it's supposed to be, I think you'll enjoy it a lot more.
Yeah. I definitely agree with all that. Like I said before, Lufia 1, Lufia 2 are totally different, are totally different games and playing style. But the story combined makes for a good story. So some other odds and ends. This game originally in North America had a few graphical and textual glitches, which got fixed for the European release. So, nothing really bad. I noticed a couple of them. I know a couple of them that were playing the game, but it really wasn't like a game like mind breaking. But as long as they, but as often the case, because the PAL version of the game comes out later, they took the chance to, fix that. So. One of the most interesting cases like about that. Quick side note here that I just recently learned about this. Do you remember the game Festus Quest on the NES? Well, you may remember how difficult that game is. So, apparently, when the game came out in Europe, like about a year later, the developers just said to themselves, this game probably was too difficult for North America. Why don't we tone it down like a little bit? So. The European version of the game has features such as like shots cannot go through walls instead the walls stopping them. And it also has a faster firing rate on the gun. So those changes together make it for a much easier game. So it's always interesting to see and to be fair, sometimes North American versions of the games are improved upon the original Japanese too. So it's not just not just like Europe. So reviews of this game when it came out were pretty positive. Overall in game rankings, the game is the game is a score of like 80%. The game sold very well in Japan. Famitsu gave it like 3 out of 40. When the game came out in North America, GameFan gave gave it like a 90. Nintendo Life also gave it like a 90. RPG Gamer gave it a 4 out of 5. RPG Fan gave it like 85%. So, GamePro does not have a score listed here. They did have a blurb, a blurb about the game. They love the puzzle element. They love the but they thought the graphics were a little bit subpar. The battles were too easy. The music sound effects are boringly generic. So I didn't agree with any of that part. But I don't know what GamePro was very hit or miss the reviews back then. I thought so. This one they totally missed the mark.
Absolutely.
But anyway, and then retrospectively, the game holds up pretty well too. It's like we were talking about earlier, Joe. But people still think it's a pretty it's like a pretty decent game today. So, there are a number of codes and glitches in this game. One interesting feature of this game, and I don't so I'm not sure why it's hidden, because most games didn't do this, but there is a way to erase all your save data if you want to. Boot the game up while starting to start and select. After that copper screen, the game will ask you when to delete your save games. I like that being here. I'm not sure whether they had to hide it. I mean, like Zelda way back when had the delete feature front and center. So I don't know why I'm not sure why they felt that they need to hide that. There's a glitch in the game that there's a glitch in the game that allows you to be able to get like a huge supply of log knives to feed your cast monsters to level them up easily. So there's also 2 secret game modes you can unlock by beating previous game modes of this game: retry mode and gift mode. Retry mode gives you 4 times as much experience in gold like you counter. In gift mode, you can select your own party to fight. But you can select your own party to play through the ancient dungeon. There's also there's also a way to be able to beat the egg dragon, the egg dragon in just like one round if you know what you're doing. And you can also easily easily get a win against the. And you can also very easily get a win against the master like the ancient dungeon. So, basically, you just kill yourself there, and it sounds weird, but in the end, the game will treat it like you've actually won the game. Like won the dungeon, like legit. So, but I guess nobody played just in that area. But, and as I alluded to before, this game's one of the most heavily broken games as far as like RPGs go, because it's like, I mean, most RPGs have been broken at this point because speedrunners have learned, how to manipulate the RPG. Because speedrunners have learned how to manipulate the RNG system. That stands for random generator, by the way. They've learned how to be able to where the glitches are, how to be able to skip out to, how to be able to chop out chunks of the game. It's how Zelda Ocarina of Time. Like they beat in 5 minutes. Like that kind of stuff. But this game, as Joe mentioned before, it's ridiculous what they're able to find. There's a way to be able to there's a great video on YouTube, by the way, if you want to check this out personally. Speedrunners have found a way through a combination of the RNG and also be able to do fusing. Basically, it works because you do certain actions certain number of times that cause the game's RAM to reset, and basically just out, and it's all kind of like weird stuff going on there. So, it's possible. It's totally possible to beat the game in 51 seconds because of that. So, it's pretty insane. But yeah, Lufia 2 is definitely one of the. Lufia 2 is definitely one of the most broken RPGs as far as speedrunning goes. For sure. So.
Yeah, no argument with that.
So I did mention. So finally, I mentioned earlier about the remake. Neversoft. Yeah, okay. Neverland, different company. Who made Lufia? Made the earlier Lufia games. Decided 2010 to revisit this game. The fact that we revisited this game and not Lufia 1 also goes to reinforce Joe's point that this game is better thought of these days. But they had most of the original staff involved, and they released a Lufia Curse of Sinistros on the DS, which was published by Square Enix. I had not played this game. I have to check the store to see if it's available on there. Probably not, but I did check out some videos of this on YouTube to see how it is, and it's basically an action RPG remake of the game. The story is still the same, and most of the overall dungeons and objectives which you need to do in this game are the same. But you basically have real time. You basically have it's a 3D based game instead with a camera, and it's like real time combat. Like you're directing the characters directly. It's very interesting. Actually looks for actually looks pretty good. I think they decided that since the game's so action RPG anyway to begin with, they might as well, to begin with, they might as well just like double down on that system.
I mean, plus that was popular at the time when they made the remake, so it makes sense.
Right. So, the game unfortunately did not sell very well, which is probably like a big reason why we've not seen too many other Lufia games since then. But most people complain about the 3D graphics, the 3D graphics, like the camera control having problems. Most Western publications though gave like positive marks. So, so I'm curious to check this out. So I'm guessing you have no experience at all with this game, James.
I've seen it, but no, I haven't played it.
Yeah. Well, since it was, I should probably say, Square Enix did publish the game in Japan. Natsumi still had the rights to publish the game in North America, and as a result, this game's also kind of hard to find these days. That's why I said, I don't have to. So I'm not sure if it's available in the store, but otherwise, I may have to resort to other means to play it. But anyway, yeah. So all right, let's talk pricing because this game is rather expensive. Like I said before, I think because like I said before, I think that I think between the combination of the fact this game was not published as was not sold as many copies. I don't know if the fact it's popular. Both of them conspire today to make for a pretty high price for this game. You can find it on eBay easily. To find the game on eBay easily enough. 11 copies of the game are currently listed when I checked this several days ago. 20 copies of the game that recently sold. So you can find the game. You find the game. It's got to be prepared to pay for it, especially if you want a CIV copy. The cart by itself is not that bad. Most cart prices of this game range from these prices will shipping by the way. The cart prices range from $25 to $150. So, I mean, $25 for this game I think is fair.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a decent price. So copies of this game with cart manual only usually range around $150 to $250. So. CIB, this is where it gets pricey. Priced not only because of the box, but also because the game came with a map originally. So, the map itself explains a huge amount of this cost. If people were selling the map online, the map by itself, mind you, running from $60 to $100. So, the map is very rare apparently, which is why the CIB pricing is so expensive. But if you want to completely get a copy of the game, cart, manual, box, and map. Be prepared to pay anywhere from $315 to $670 for it. So, yes, very, very high.
Yeah,
prices.
I won't be acquiring this game anytime soon.
Yeah. Well, it's like you're getting a card for them because I said $25 for a card is not bad, but and then, and nowadays the map's available online to look at too. So it's it's more just so that's more toward the completionist and collection people out there, for sure. But yeah, anyway, Lufia 2, good game. I definitely enjoyed this game more than the first game. Not the first game's a bad game. I just think that Lufia 2 is more. It definitely feels more like a. So despite its flaws and glitches, I definitely think Lufia 2 plays more like a modern game because it's because the system it uses that kind of stuff. The complaints of the game that I already touched. We already touched upon. You know how the game ends. If you have any familiarity with Lufia 1 at all, some of the puzzles are very egregious. The overall most of the fights are relatively easy. Even the boss fights of the game, I don't think were all that challenging as long as you're prepared for them. So, and in the game, the game can feel a bit slow and sluggish at points, especially especially when I'm trying to move around towns and dungeons. I think that we're spoiled by modern games which like to have like a fast run option on them to have you like zip your character along. Because every remake of a game these days, Dragon Quest, Final Fantasy, whatever, has that option added. So it's hard to go back to order a game like this sometimes. You're like, oh, you're so slow, pick it up already. But yeah, beyond those, overall the game's like very fun. So I'm definitely glad. Definitely glad we checked out the podcast.
Yeah.
Do you have any final thoughts or conclusions?
No, I'll just reiterate what I said. I, think everybody should give this game a chance. However, it is the way that you play it. And yeah, $25 for a cart isn't bad at all. And then, obviously, if you're a true hardcore collector, stay away from completing the box. That's crazy. Just get the cart. Just get the cart. I understand it, the map's rare and whatever, but yeah, definitely, check the game out, play it. I think you'll enjoy it. It's not very often that, I sit there and say, especially with a game of this caliber, that you should absolutely play it now in this day and age. But this one holds up enough, I think, that you can still enjoy it.
Right. Yep. Definitely agree. So, anyway, thank you as always for being here on the podcast with us. Thank you again,
of course,
for joining me. If you have any questions, feedback, comments, suggestions, you can check us at our Facebook page, or you can also send me an email directly to the SNESpodcast@yahoo.com. Joe, how can they reach you?
You can find me on my very public Facebook. Also, I have a Twitter at JOESUX30.
Okay. I actually have not looked at that Twitter feed. How much do you post on there?
Not enough for anybody to really care.
Okay. But anyway, so next time, very happy to announce this. We've been teasing this for a while now, and it's finally happening. We're very excited to announce that. Like we did with Chrono Trigger recently, we're going to be doing a revisiting of the Star Wars games on the Super NES, like all three games, the trilogy. Speaking about Star Wars again. So, and we have a great lineup of guest hosts joining us on the podcast in 2 weeks to cover them. So, I will not say who it is at this point because I want to be a surprise, and B, things may change between now and then. Who knows? Life gets in the way and whatever. So, but these are all people. But I will say these are all people who've been on the podcast before in the past. So
yeah,
it
should be fun.
Time. So looking forward to that. So we're gonna do the same overall. So we're gonna do the same overall treatment as we did the Chrono Trigger recently, because we already covered the game way back when. We're not gonna go into the weeds for the games. Instead we're gonna focus on the games overall. How they play, our experiences with them, that kind of stuff. So should be fun. But so look forward to that next time. And I said before, we do have the guest host episodes planned coming up, including a very special one coming up sometime later on this year. But there will be less guest host appearances this year than last year, but there are also some coming up. So stay tuned for those as well. Thank you again. Always like to support everybody. Appreciate it very much. Stay safe out there. Be well, and we'll talk to you again sometime soon, hopefully. And see you again with the next episode of Star Wars, hopefully. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Nintendo controls 80% of the video market. But no matter how you play the game, or which game you play, things definitely have come a long way since Pac-Man.
Now you're playing with power. Super power.